Hey there friends, it's Cassie. Welcome back for another Heffy Doodle video. Today we're going to be making a alcohol ink slider pop-up card, so let's talk about what we're using. That stamp set was the Pandtastic painters along with the matching dies. We're also going to be using the Create Shadow Heffy cut. And then we have the slider pop-up die, which is just so cool. There's a slimline and an A2 size, but we're using the A2. And then we have this gorgeous black alcohol ink cardstock. It is a matte finish with an array of alcohol pearls. And Max has come to join us. He will have to leave shortly because we are using alcohol inks, and those do have a fume to them. I've cut down my cardstock to a little bit bigger than the A2 size, and we're going to get started here in a second. As you can tell, I have all of those alcohol inks in these little ink cozies. I do that so that they don't fall over and I make a mess all over everything. But with these, because they're alcohol pearls, you're going to want to really shake those to get all that mica powder that's at the bottom all distributed really well. So here we go. We're going to get started. And then I notice Max wants to really pop in. So once I get that red down, I'm going to blow that around with my alcohol ink blower, and then we're going to get Max out of here. Typically, when you're using alcohol inks, you might pull in an like a alcohol blending solution. In this case, I'm not doing that because I'm using a matte cardstock. Just through trial and error, I've noticed that you have to move quickly with this stuff, and the alcohol blending solution really doesn't do much. It just kind of absorbs into the paper, and you don't want that because then you're just wasting your blending solution. So I'm going in rainbow order. That red one is called Deception, the orange is called Splendor, the yellow is called Alchemy, the green, Sublime, the blue, Tranquil, and the pink is called Intrigue. And I am just going to, once I get all those colors down, I am going to fill in the little gaps where I feel like I need to. But so far, I am loving how those colors look on that black matte cardstock. The black kind of pops through just a little bit, and then add to the fact that these are alcohol pearls rather than just the regular alcohol inks, which are gorgeous too. It just really adds to the background itself. So we'll just keep adding color, filling in those gaps, because at the very bottom you'll notice there is some black. I like that. I did want it to look like it's kind of dripping down the paper, but I end up wanting to use the leftover strip that I'm going to have for my Create Heffy cut, because it just ties everything together in doing so. So we'll just put little splatters here and there, and just loving the playing and loving how this is coming together. Now we'll just make sure all of our lids are on nice and tight. Put those off to the side, and let's take a look at the gorgeous shimmer that we are left with and how that black pops through. I love this. So let's set that off to the side to dry, and then we'll move on to our coloring. So I stamped out all of my images onto some Express It cardstock using some Memento Tuxedo black ink. Both are alcohol marker friendly. And then we're going to start with our W4. I am using at most a 2-color blend today. So we've got W4 and W6, and you'll notice throughout this whole coloring process, Max really wants to be a part of it all. Normally I'd be all about that, but he just keeps popping into the light. So I try to move him, but he's intrigued with the caps. So here we go, blending out the W6 with our W4. Just a little bit. I do want there to be some differentiation, and then we'll just keep working that a little bit. And then we'll come in with our rainbow, and I'll put all those colors up on the screen, but we're doing our red, orange, yellow, green, blue, and then I put pink in there. And it's really simple coloring. Obviously, there's no need for the 2 color blends there on that paint palette, just simply because it's so small. Then for our paint palette, the background, and our paintbrush, and then our canvas easel, we are using E81. And then we're going to come in with an E84. I told you, Max is all about those caps right now. And because one fell over, he thought that he needed to play with it. So we're coming in, just adding a little bit of shadowing and shading where I think it might look good. And then we'll blend that out just a tiny bit using our E81. And then I'm going to come in with some W1 and W0 to add a little bit of shadowing and shading to the white parts. So on our heart, on our panda, and also on our canvas, that'll just add a touch of depth to all of these pieces. Now that we're done, we'll tack down all of our matching dies using a little bit of Heffy tape, and then we're going to run this through our mini die cutting machine by Heffy Doodle. Love this machine. As you well know, I use it on the regular. So now that those are all popped out, because they're smaller pieces and I kind of already know how I want them assembled, I don't want to lose anything, so I'm going to go ahead and put these together, putting that heart on the canvas. Then we're going to put his little painter's board in his hand, and then I do love how this die for the panda cuts around his right paw, so we're going to pop the little paintbrush behind his paw. How cute is that? Oh my gosh. And now we'll be ready to pull out our die. This is the slider pop-up die, and it's A2 sized. We're going to tack that down with a little bit of Heffy tape. And then you'll notice that other piece on the side that is open at the top. We're going to take a piece of white cardstock and run that through our die cutting machine that way. Now, the only reason why it is open at the top is just to save a little space for your die cuts to be able to fit together. But once you get those cut, you're going to just take that leftover piece at the top and you're going to cut it off. So I'm going to pull out my guillotine trimmer, and then we'll just cut where those lines are kind of notched in. And then once that's done, we're going to pull in our Create Shadow Heffy Cut. And I am going to use that leftover piece of cardstock that I did all the alcohol ink blending on, and we're going to use that to cut that out. Then for the shadow for the word create, we're going to use a white piece of cardstock, so that way the word create will really pop. The only downside that I noticed to the word create is that the E and the T don't have a lot on them, so I'm going to add a little bit of green to them and then let that dry before I assemble anything. You'll notice on this piece there is some score lines. There are some score lines. You're going to want to go ahead and fold those pretty good. Put a line of some sort of strong adhesive at the very bottom tab, and then you can attach your white piece to it right behind. That is going to be the part that pulls. So once you pull the top, it's going to pull that bottom piece along with it, which is why it's so important to have a strong adhesive. Then you can put your little tab at the top back in place, and then you'll be ready to assemble the next piece. So this piece is cut down to A2 size, which is 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. I'm using a liquid glue, but I strongly suggest that you don't use liquid glue. Use like a 1/8 inch score tape, because it will be strong, and it'll also give just a little bit of height to it, if that makes any sense. So that way your mechanism will be able to slide that much easier. I didn't have any problem with that liquid glue adhering to my mechanism itself. It's just, it makes it tight. So that's my only suggestion. Then I'll put the word create over its shadow, and then we're going to pop our slider open, and then I am going to do a little stamping on the inside. I just love this. I love the whole concept of a slider pop-up because it's usually pretty flat and it's easy to mail, but then there's always this nice surprise. It's a way of getting an interactive card, a very easy interactive card without a crazy amount of effort or bulk. So I stamped the sentiment that says, "I love your heart," and I love how art in the word heart is an outline, so you can color that in. So that's what I'm doing with our blue, yellow, and our red Copic that I used earlier. Now that that's done, I can start adhering the rest of the pieces. So I'll pull out that same liquid glue. You could pop it up with foam tape, but wherever you adhere it, you have to make sure that you don't go over your score lines. Don't go over your score lines or your open pieces with any sort of liquid glue, or any glue for that matter. So I'm just trying to avoid all of those parts so that way I don't end up closing my mechanism shut. And then we'll attach him down. And once he's on there, that's actually going to finish off the card. So it's really a very nice flat card that's easy to send through the mail, but it has this fun little pop-up element. So much fun. And you just work with your element a little bit, just play with it. The more you play with it, the easier it'll pop through. But check that out. How cute is that? I love it. There you have it. So if you like this video, be sure to hit that like button and consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. As always, thank you so much for all your comments, all the love and support that you give, and just for coming and watching. As always, I'll see you very soon in another video. Bye, everybody.